that's why we're questioning na hindi lang yan meet me room. It's queue server. It can happen there.
So when the PET now complies with our subpoena and submits now the digital copy of the transmission logs, DNS logs, you know ba? We will now
Yes,
be
sir.
able to see the evidence
Yes, sir.
of your allegation that a
Yes, sir.
single file was split into 11 to 13. You know
Yes,
ba?
sir.
Okay, sige.
Well, they said na yung transparency server, sabi nila, sir, ha? Mr. Chairman, sabi nila, the transparency server is not part of the AES. So if it's not part of the AES, then hindi yan covered ng precautionary protection order. Then they should be able to see it, sir. Kasi meron sila doon eh, may silang kopya. As a matter of fact, meron ng NAMFREL. Yeah. That's why we were able to see the 14,711 tracings na sabog yung pagka-record.
Let us find out if the Comelec looked at the transparency server. So the reaction from the Comelec, please.
So probably those 11 or 13 alleged split files are based on the positions that are being contested. Now, may I ask a question, sir? Were the results coming from the election returns, were they different from those received by the transparency server? Were the election returns transmitted by the VCM, were they different from those received at the canvassing and consolidation system? Meron bang pagbabago ang ER sa COC? Wala naman po.
Sir,
there have been too many allegations, sir, of alleged fraud, but no one has ever proven, no one has even attempted to show that the results coming from the VCM are different from those received by the CCS.
Mr. Chairman.
Sige, Attorney Chong, what's your reaction?
Yan din po yung sagot nila, sir, in the answers po nila doon sa privilege speech ni Tito Sen. But if you will allow me, I will present to you, I will answer that. Ay papakita ko po sa inyo, sir, kung bakit nagtutugma yung resulta as printed and transmitted. But you will also see the underlying evidence behind it. And I will show it to you, sir, if you will allow me.
Mr. Chair.
Actually, the results were analyzed by us from the transparency server. We ran it through a statistical program R, and that's where we saw that the unsynchronized results of several positions were in. So we don't know anything about other servers. We only have data on the transparency server, and that's what we analyzed. And we, I think, made that known. And if they had further analysis, that was based on what we had, the results that we got from the transparency server.
In layman's term,
Your
Attorney
Honor.
Chong, what were you expecting na VCM transmits one file?
Sir, ganito po.
Sige, ano ba yan?
With respect to itong splitting po. Based on evidence, the VCM will transmit one singular file to the consolidation and canvassing system in the Municipal Board of Canvassers or City Board, then to the central server, yung sinasabi po nila, then to the transparency server in Pocayos. There are three. Hindi po simultaneous yan, ha? Individual transmissions po yan. But this is a singular file. As a matter of fact, 17,000 bytes lang yun eh. 14 to 17,000 bytes. Malit lang. Pero pagdating po doon sa canvassing system, yung sa MBOC, yung sa, I don't know with them kasi sa Comelec Central Server yan, hindi ko nakita yan, transparency server. Na-split po yung singular file into 11 or 13 tallies. I did not say files, Executive Director. Hindi po files. Tallies. He's correct. Tallies. Tallies yan. Na-split po yan. The question is, at which point the split was made? Kasi single file yan nung lumabas sa makina. Tallies na nung lumabas doon sa canvassing system. Now, ang tanong, saan dito at which point in time na-slice, sabihin na natin, na-slice, so that, if you remember, sabi po ni Miss Acol, na nadi-decrypt in the middle, nadi-decrypt ng queue server. So if it was decrypted in the queue server, then sinilip na po yan, Your Honor. Nasilip na po yan kasi na-decrypted na yung encrypted file eh. So nasilip na po yan. Eh kung nasilip na po natin, patalo na pala yung kandidato natin, eh dadagdagan natin yung kabila. That's where the possible cheating, that's why, Your Honor, palagi pong sinasabi ni Comelec, wala naman kayong napakita na yung printed election returns, sabi nila, 2,775,725,840 printed election returns. They match with the transmitted results. Well, of course, because ang daya nandun na sa baba. I will explain it, Your Honor, if you will allow me. Complete with evidence, complete with supporting documents.
Let me just pursue your idea. Okay, sige. Talking about only the transparency server, yung mga pag-usapan natin, was this supposed to happen? That 11 tallies would be received by the transparency server? Is that normal? Did you expect that?
We expect that with respect to the Board of Canvassers, because the results are transmitted in an encrypted package. And then, i-decrypt ng CCS yan. And then, titingnan kasi ng system, ano ang dapat niyang i-proclaim, ano ang dapat niyang gawa ng certificate of canvass para sa higher positions. So, nai-split po yan. But with respect to the transparency, I'm not very sure if that should happen. But then again, that is a transparency server. That is not the official results. That's not part of the official canvas. And so the allegation that if I see by splitting the results that somebody is losing, then I can change the results. It won't matter because the transparency server is not used for the official canvas of election results.
Who is responsible for how to treat the file? It's Smartmatic din, no? It's part of the AES, right?
Yes, sir. Which has
So
been...
when we ask Smartmatic if that was supposed to happen?
If I may just conclude, sir, the CCS has been reviewed by the international certification entity that has been reviewed by local source code reviewers. Now, if they didn't see it, well, I think it's their problem. Because it's there.
Kaya nga tanong ko, if it was expected to happen. Is-split niya. Kasi ang next question, I'm not a techie, but the techie can probably answer. If a single file is transmitted by the BCM, then sa destination niya, all of a sudden, naging 11 tallies siya.
No, sir.
Is that possible?
I-decrypt pa doon sa destination. We send it encrypted so that nobody can just say, ano natin.
So, na-receive one file din, and then pag-decrypt, ano itong 11 tallies na sinasabi?
Posible po yan yung different contested positions na sinasabi.
And then, who designed the system? Di ba Smartmatic? Can we ask Smartmatic? Can you explain?
Sure.
Can you explain the program behind, the idea behind in layman's terms?
I believe we're already going into very specific detail of how the system works, and I do not have the exact answer right now, but I can tell you that as part of the insertion of all the results in the database, it is of course splitted because you have each one of the contests and you need to put it inside of the database. Now, if we need to see how that specific process works, we will have to go to the source code to understand how that process works. And of course, we can show
You see that, attorney, who were involved in the source code review? Attorney Guevara, Attorney Alicer, do you confirm? Did you see this, the splitting of a single file to 11 to 13 tallies?
Let me explain. It's a source code review. While there's a source code review conducted by Comelec with the local source code reviewers, including us, while initially it was a smooth review of the code, it eventually became it just chose topics already because the time element were pressed for time. So my understanding is that not all items that are supposed to be reviewed were reviewed by the source code reviewers. On this aspect, sir, we always pass on the question to be answered by Smartmatic. It would seem now that Smartmatic is the one running our election and not Comelec. We've always been harping ever since that Comelec should know all these answers and not Smartmatic. Under the law, 9369, the software that was deployed was reviewed by the International Certification Entity, or ICE, by Systems Lab Inc. This was used as a basis by the Technical Evaluation Committee to certify the deployment of the AES. Why would a TEC composed of the OST, Comelec, and another government entity rely on an international certification? The TEC themselves should be the one to actually conduct its own validation certification and rely on a certification by an international certification entity. While the law says so, for me, we're talking about our election here. We don't want to rely the conduct of our election to an international entity. We should be the one to be able to validate it. On the source code review, I've never seen anybody from Comelec attend the source code review. No one from Comelec did the source code review. As I've said, sir, they just merely relied on the international certification entity to certify the deployment of the AES. What we would have wanted is really for us, somebody, a personnel of Comelec, to do the source code review with us. Because any question that we have, all the questions we have right now should be answered not by Smartmatic, but by Comelec. Because they're the ones supposed to be mandated by law to run our election. But right now, all these questions now are passed to Smartmatic. And it would seem that Comelec are not able to answer all these questions, all these technical questions of ours. Legal pwede, but technical hindi. So bakit ganun? Bakit Smartmatic ang sumasagot sa mga tanong natin lahat?
And unfortunately, the Smartmatic guys present today cannot answer the question. Don't you have technical people behind you? Or?
Sir, I don't know the code by heart. I would have to go inside of the code because it's a very specific question.
How many days do you need?
So, sorry?
How many days do you need so that you can answer us? If we were supposed to expect the splitting of the file into 11 tallies.
In a week, I can review.
Okay. You're given a week.
Okay.
Answer us in writing, and then in the next hearing, you can explain it.
The question is if there, as part of the process, the system splits the file into 13 different.
An investigator looked at the audit log of the transparency server, and he found 11 to 13 tallies allegedly from VCM. So explain how come a single file transmitted by the VCM got split into 11 to 13 tallies when it arrived at the transmissions in the transparency server. Okay, it's that simple. That's a very specific question. Yes, Attorney Guevara, then Attorney Elisera.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, if I may ask a question to through you to Smartmatic or to Comelec, sorry. In terms of the time lag, though, actually we're talking about the transmissions from the VCM to the transparency server. The question is now is how fast should the transparency server receive the packet from the VCM? Is it like a text message now when you send out a text message? Is it received like a few seconds, 5 seconds at the most? My next question will now depend on what their answer will be with that question, sir.
An answer from the Comelec, ED, on paper in the AES. How when the VCM sends the file to the transparency server, how soon is the transparency server expected to receive the file?
I wouldn't know the exact number of seconds, sir, but it will just take seconds to receive it. But sometimes it is sequential, but we're not very positive that the Board of Canvassers will receive it first. and then followed by the central and transparency. Because if the lines are not open, it's possible that the transparency will be the one that will receive it first, or baka wala.
Okay lang sir, yung sequence yung sagot nyo, but ang tanong niya is, let us say the transmission is meant for the transparency server. What is the time lag or gap between transmitting from the VCM and receipt by the transparency server?
My staff said they're just seconds, but we don't have the exact number of seconds, sir.
Exactly, they're just seconds. No? So expected to be quite fast. Yes, Atty. Guevara, continue.
That's the reason, sir, Mr. Chair, that we're asking for the audit logs of the VCM. What we have is basically from the transparency server. We've had access as well from the transparency server. We've analyzed it. We ran the same program as what Ms. Naco did, no, in our program. But what we don't have, and we've been asking the chair, the Senate, to request Comelec to produce audit logs of the VCM, because based on what I've seen, I think from the presentation of Atty. Glenn Chong, hindi po seconds ang lag from the time that the VCM transmitted and was received by the transparency server. From the looks of it, meron pong 2 hours, 3 hours, 8 hours, I think, but definitely not seconds. So, kung lumampas po ng 5 seconds ang pag-receive from the ng transparency server from the VCM, ano po ang effect nun? What is the effect of having a transmission time lag that is more than 5 seconds at the most?
Yes, manifestation. I will, Attorney Glenn Chong. The question is directed to ED Tolentino, so it depends on you. If you are, the question is, will there be a difference if the speed of the transmission is after 2 hours or after 5 seconds? What we are after here is the accuracy of the data coming from the VCM up to the transparency server, or the server for that matter. Because, well, I would like to, assuming that all the data are the same in the central server, transparency server, yes.
The answer would be there would be no difference, sir. In fact, the PPCRV, the results that were received by the transparency server, they validated it by the election returns, the hard copies of the election returns. And they say it matched.
I will go back to Attorney Guevara. So, Attorney Guevara, as a local source code reviewer, ano po ba ang gusto ninyong magawa? Dahil ito ay, we are in an oversight committee to improve the automated election system. And I can infer, based from what you're saying, as you speak, that you want the law to be followed, that it's not for the third-party supplier to be in charge of our automated election system, although they have been given the contract, but it should be the Comelec from a technical point of view also. So, am I correct in saying that, Attorney Guevara?
Yeah, that's correct, Mr. Chair. Always naman, it's really Comelec as mandated by law to run our election and not a third-party entity. Going back, as mentioned by ED Tolentino, no? 5 seconds or seconds lang at the most should be the time lag between the transmission from the VCM to the and received by the transparency server. But again, if you're talking about a queue server or you're talking about a meet me room, if there's a meet me room, bakit seconds lang? Or the question is, bakit sometimes and most of the time umabot ng more than seconds, 2 hours, 3 hours, based on what I've seen so far. So to be able to verify and validate this, what we're asking for is really for the production of the audit logs of the VCM, so we can actually look at it and make a really comparison and validation. Because this will eventually help us, Comelec, move forward and strengthen our automated election system for future elections.
Mr. Chair, excuse me,
For a while. Before I let Attorney Tolentino or ED Tolentino answer, I would like to recognize first our colleague, the Vice Chair of the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms in the House of Representatives, Congresswoman Luisa Cuaresma of Nueva Vizcaya, and a question also coming from, before ED answers, a question also from Congressman De Vera.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. I was listening a while ago regarding the VCMs. No? When will the results of the VCM be transmitted to the recipients? No? The first recipient is the city or municipality. The second recipient.
Ito po ay Sabado, September 15. So